You're a newbie trainer in Hoenn, challenging the Rustboro City Gym. You fight your way through a gauntlet of trainers, expecting to see Roxanne at the end, but come face to face with Steven Stone. What's going on here? This is Pokemon Sapphire, but the order of the gym leaders, Elite Four, and Champion has been flipped. And I'm gonna Nuzlocke this reverse Hoenn League. That means if any of my Pokemon faint, they'll be considered dead forever. And I can only catch the first Pokemon encountered in each area. The rest of the rules are on screen now and in the description. I won't read all of them out cause like, come on, what are the chances the shiny clause will ever be enacted? Anyway, let's begin this reversed journey by choosing Hoenn's best starter. In terms of design, in terms of memeability, in terms of spin-off relevance, in terms of how good they are against the reverse Hoenn League. Nuggets the Torchic is the crown jewel of my early game haul that includes Wing the Wingull on Route 103, Sandwich the Tailo on Route 104, Teriyaki the Wurmple in Petalburg Woods, and I accidentally knocked out my encounter on Route 102 but made up for it by snagging Rotisserie the Zigzagoon on Route 101. For the most part, this ROM hack's changes are limited to just the gyms, the layouts, the leaders, and of course the teams we'll face. The rest of the game is nearly identical to Vanilla Sapphire, but there are some small changes here and there. For one, rare candies are available for $1 each at every Pokemart. Oh, what a travesty. How could the creator of this ROM hack do away with the most engaging, skill-expressive part of Pokemon Nuzlocke, grinding levels against wild Pokemon at 4 times speed? Another minor change in Sapphire Reverse is that Sydney lends a Pokemon to Wally so he can catch his Ralts. Makes sense since Sydney is now the Petalburg gym leader. He's also planning to sleep with my mother. After a quick run-in with an eco-terrorist, we arrive at Rustboro City, home of the new first gym leader, Steven Stone. It kinda makes sense for him to move here, since he is next in line to take over the Devon Corporation located next door. Steven's steely squad, meanwhile, has been appropriately trimmed down to just a Beldum and a Mawile. Unfortunately, my current team doesn't exactly fare well against steel types. Shut up, I know about him. I just needed a segue to talk about Route 116, which spat me out a Whismur. I definitely should have just caught a guaranteed Whismur in Rust Turf Tunnel first, then used the species clause to get something else on Route 116, but you gotta understand, this entire run was recorded while I was sick and lacking any sense of taste or smell, so cut me some slack. I was so desperate to have my taste back that this entire nickname scheme became a thing. Nuggets the Torchic leads off versus Steven Stonehenge's Beldum, firing off a powerful Ember to take it into the red. Beldum only knows one move, Takedown, which deals a sizable chunk of damage but not enough to halt Nuggets' mounting momentum. Steven pops a potion, but it's for naught, as Nuggets burns through Beldum's HP regardless, inviting in the gym leader's ace. Mawile's Bite tears away a third of Nuggets' HP and puts us in a precarious position. Due to my rules, I could only bring 2 Pokemon to this fight, Nuggets and Wing the Wingull, whom Mawile threatens with Rock Tomb. So basically, Nuggets is my only real hope here. But Nuggets rises to the task, critting with Ember to one-round Mawile and secure us our first badge. And he evolved into Combuskin after the W. You know what? I think Nuggets has got quite the bright future ahead of him. After using my birds to retrieve an old guy's bird and earning a free voyage across the sea, we arrive at Dewford Town, where the second gym leader awaits, Drake. Not that one, he's in the Shadow Realm now. This Drake's gone from formidable Elite Four member to still kind of formidable second gym leader, armed with a Bagon and an honorary dragon Trapinch. While Wing can stop Trapinch flat, we lack a clear answer against Bagon. Granite Cave didn't offer much aid, only providing a Makuhita, while the adjoining routes to Dewford spat out Fried Rice the Magikarp and Gelatin the Tentacool. They'll play really important roles later in the run, but provide little at the current moment. So in terms of handling Drake's Bagon, we're gonna need some sort of miracle to happen. Oh my God, this is legitimately the first time I've ever had Pokerus occur naturally in my game, but it doesn't really move the needle against Drake himself, who I ultimately decided to take on using the same duo used against Steven Stoneheart. Wing the Gull starts off strong with Water Gun, while Trapinch retaliates with a soft bite, unable to stop Wing from claiming the KO the following turn. That lets Bagon mosey on in, but Wing lands Supersonic to confuse the headstrong dragon and waste its turn. Nuggets then swoops in for free as Bagon hits itself in the face for a second consecutive turn. Unfortunately, Bagon is faster, snaps out of confusion, and uses Dragon Dance to boost its attack and speed. Nuggets does land a strong double kick, but Bagon's held Citrus Berry undoes some of the damage. Bagon then gets off a second Dragon Dance while Nuggets brings our foe back below half. At this point, Bagon's probably going to start slamming its head into Nuggets like a linebacker and potentially flinch him. If that happens, we're probably screwed. But if Nuggets doesn't flinch, this battle is as good as ours. Nuggets indeed doesn't flinch. and crits with double kick to net us our second gym badge and the TM for Dragon Breath. That's it. I've been convinced. Nuggets is no mere Pokemon. Just look at what's happened since we've met him. We crit Stone Cold Steven Stone for the win. We crit Drake for the win. We contracted Pokerus, and I got like 10% of my taste back by this point. You know what all these occurrences have in common? They're unrelated strokes of good luck. They're divine miracles brought upon by Nuggets, our prophetic savior. The proof was right there all along. PKRS, that's short for praise our king and rightful savior, Nuggets. Now, I understand that correlation does not necessarily imply causation, but it does when it fits my narrative, which is why I'm establishing a new religion for our one true salvation. All hail Nuggets! All hail Nuggets! All hail— For what reason would the Devon Corporation president have to send Roxanne a letter? Like, it made sense with Steven Stone, because he's the president's son, but Roxanne could not possibly be that important or even that powerful compared to— After catching a boat to Slateport, giving Team Aqua a swirly again, and stuffing a gizzard into my pocket, it's time for one of the most crucial moments of the entire run. See, there's something very important I need to ask you all. I tried making Vietnamese yellow curry a while back, but it didn't turn out the way I expected. I marinated the chicken in like salt, pepper, and Madras curry powder. I pan fried some garlic in a skillet, threw in the chicken, added some carrots, potatoes, and coconut milk. Then I let it simmer for like, I think 45 minutes, and it came out beautifully, like nice and golden with that creamy coconut infused broth. Mwah. But when I tasted it, it had like no taste at all. Both the curry and the chicken. I don't know what I did wrong since I followed all the steps from this recipe I found online. Give or take some ingredients I didn't have, like lemongrass and Bailey's, but I don't think it should have affected it that much that my food didn't have any taste whatsoever. So I was wondering if you guys— oh, May's already gone down. I'll tell y'all more details about the curry thing later. For now, I gotta step foot into Mauville City, give Wally a wedgie, and catch an Oddish on Route 117. All in preparation for the third gym leader, Glacia. Yeah, this gym's gonna be another Nuggets domain expansion, but he won't be alone. Several party members are finally able to evolve, with Fried Rice the Gyarados and Sandwich the Swallow joining the battle against Glacia, who actually has a little reason to be in Mauville. See, in the mobile game Pokemon Masters, it is revealed that her favorite food is a ramen bowl found specifically in the Mauville food court. Doesn't really make sense in this game since the food court only exists in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but I'll give Glacia the benefit of the doubt and assume she means a ramen stand or something. Anyway, Nuggets kicks things off against Snorunt, literally shattering it into a billion pieces. He also one-shots Spheal, inviting in Glacia's Ace Glalie. Its headbutt deals a solid amount of damage, but Nuggets is protected by a holy aura that prevents him from flinching, meaning he can respond with double kick to take our foe below half. Glalie, the heathen, refuses to accept its fate, however, spamming protect to delay the inevitable. Glalie eventually goes for another headbutt, but remember, Nuggets has reached a different plane of existence where concepts such as flinching are irrelevant. He shrugs off the hit and plants his foot directly into Glalie's face to earn us gym badge number 3 and TM Icy Wind. For his accomplishments, Nuggets the Combuskin shall henceforth be referred to as Lord Nuggets, and his teaching shall spread across the entire Hoenn region like a chain restaurant expanding its operations. And like a chain restaurant, there's a shortcut we can take to spread the good word of Nuggetsism further. Private equity. Public funding. That's right, Nuggets is gonna lure in all the unsuspecting masses by winning a Pokemon contest, thereby gathering a dedicated follower base that we can convert into donators and followers of the religion of Nuggetsism. It's a foolproof strategy. Fine, we'll just conquer the Hoenn region the old-fashioned way, by building a squad capable of punking the Elite Four. That includes current mainstays like Wing, who's evolved into Pelipper, as well as new additions such as Numo from Route 112, Torkoal from Jagged Pass, Zubat from the Giant Rice Krispie Cave, and Swablu from Route 114. Also, my Route 113 encounter ended up being Skarmory, but I ran out of Pokeballs and had to knock it out. No time to dwell on my mistake, however, as we have an eco-terrorist to foil. Archie, as well as the rest of Team Aqua, have identical teams to Vanilla Sapphire, so I'm not going to cover them too in depth. In this instance, Nuggets and Fried Rice could just team up and easily take down Archie, letting us focus on the main event, our next gym battle in Lava Ridge Town against Phoebe, who's taken up residence here due to the large elderly population. In other words, she's spawn camping these old geezers for when they pass on. The original Lava Ridge gym layout actually kinda worked for Phoebe, with the fog reminiscent of other spooky locations in the Pokemon series. It beats Glacia's renovated gym, which was just the original Mauville gym with a slashed electricity electricity bill. Fobby leads off with a tricky Duskull armed with Shadow Ball and an arsenal of status moves. Nuggets can get in an Ember for solid damage but is promptly confused by Duskull's Ray, prompting me to switch to Sandwich. His normal typing nullifies Shadow Ball, letting him fire off a wing attack. That crits for the one-hit KO. Sableye slinks into view, faking out Nuggets on the switch in. Without any way to hit Sableye super effectively, we gotta just brute force our way through Pokemon Unite's most infuriating nuisance. The Ember feeds attack back and forth goes on for 2 turns, before a third shot from Nuggets pierces through Sableye's neck and alright, I'm not gonna finish that joke. Bayonet is the last batter up and is far more threatening than meets the eye. Ghost is a physical type in Gen 3, so Bayonet's Shadow Balls are coming off its actually pretty good attack stat. I would know, one of my early attempts at this run ended at the hands of this zipper-mouthed marionette, which I guess technically means Nuggets has been reborn, right? He really does check off every box in the religious deity registration form, but he can't do much here, so he tags out for Fried Rice, whose Intimidate weakens the incoming Shadow Ball considerably. Fried Rice then chomps down, but only takes a third of Bayonet's HP, since Dark is special in this game, and Gyarados isn't really good at that. And our foe tosses out another Shadow Ball that unfortunately includes a special defense drop, which like doesn't really matter actually, because remember Ghost is physical in Gen 3. Man, these games are so stupid. Fried Rice can put his foe into the red, but he has to grit his massive teeth against another Shadow Ball. Clinging on with just 2 HP remaining. Bayonet munches on a citrus to restore some health, then clicks Shadow Ball again, but the attack bounces harmlessly off the head of Sandwich on the switch in. Sandwich can wrap up this fight with a couple of wing attacks, scoring the scintillating win. Not only are the 4th gym badge and the TM for Shadow Ball officially ours, but we can add to the long list of definitive proof that Nuggets is the second coming of Arceus. Say it with me, everyone! Fun fact, there's a poultry dish called the chicken French, and that's the namesake of this cacnea I stole from the desert. This prickly poke is gonna be a major contributor to the run in due time. For now though, it's time to beat the ever-loving snot out of the guy who's sleeping with my mother. Sandwich the Swell's been pre-burned to activate his Guts ability and give him a bit more firepower against Sydney's dark types. This pre-burning process took me over 10 minutes. And since we don't have access to fly yet, I have to walk all the way from Petalburg to Fiery Pass, set my bird on fire, then walk all the way back. And I kinda wish I had actually recorded the whole process because something unexpected happened as I was walking back through Route 116. Well, so much for the shiny claws being superfluous. If the shiny Nincada isn't proof that Nuggets is a harbinger of good fortune, I don't know what is. And in case you're wondering, yes, Ninjask is also golden, and the accompanying Shedinja is also shiny. Shedinja is a tad too broken for this game, however, so I'll be permanently banishing it to the box. As for Ninjask, it just dies to everything and doesn't get baton pass for a long while, so it'll be relegated to a glorified trophy sitting on the shelf. We'll be rolling up to the Petalburg gym with the same team used versus PHOEB, because why fix what isn't broken? Fried Rice is the lead Mon this time, but that's just to intimidate Sydney's lead Mighty Yina, before I immediately switch to Sandwich, whose active burn nullifies Mighty Yina's Toxic. Sandwich goes for a strong wing attack while Mighty Yina just clicks Taunt, wasting the remainder of its relevance to this video as it gets mollywopped. Sydney's Cacturn comes in next, but gets one-tapped by Sandwich's wing attack, forcing an Absol. I switch back to Fried Rice, whose Intimidate weakens the incoming Slash considerably. Since this is Gen 3, Fried Rice's moveset is a pitiful pile of special attacks, which is why I went for a Fried Rice Dragon Rage instead, for its consistent damage and the fact that it kinda sounds like a banger dish from a Chinese fusion restaurant. But Absol capitalizes by using Swords Dance. Another Dragon Rage here would put Absol in range for a Sydney to pop a Hyper Potion, so I command Fried Rice to use Tackle instead. A weak move that should put our foe into KO range, but not healing range. Unfortunately, Nuggets' Divine Miracles do not account for context or current situation. That unlucky crit is followed by a second Absol Swords Dance and the expected heal that puts Absol right back to full health. Splendid. Another FRDR puts us right back where we want to be, but now Fried Rice needs to chip Absol knowing that a +4 attack's coming right after. Can Fried Rice survive the onslaught, or will his earlier luck prove to be his downfall? With just 22 points of HP remaining, Fried Rice hangs on, finishes off Absol the following turn, and captures our 5th gym badge. Thanks for the crunch, TM Sydney. You are now legally required to stop banging my mother,
or you will be branded as a heathen by the Church of Nuggets and burned at the stake.
Okay, bye. With the western half of Hoenn officially under the influence of Nuggetsism, it's time to spread the good word across Hoenn's east side. That begins with evolving longtime background character Gelatin into Tentacruel, and acquiring a new crop of faithful followers, party members. Torikatsu the Magnemite from New Mauville, Marilyn the Manectric from Route 118, and a Kecleon from Route 119 whom I named Balls. Like chicken balls. Probably should have saved that name for the guaranteed electrode in the Aqua hideout, but whatever. I love the stretch from Route 118 to Fortree City with all my heart, but it is undeniably a lengthy trudge. And being the stubborn hoarder I am, I refused to buy any potions and just ran back and forth between the Pokemon Center to heal instead. Of course, this endeavor does come with some potential risks. Like that. Yeah, that was on me for speeding through things. Sorry, Wing. At least you got to spin in the early game. After putting Team Aqua into a blender at the Weather Institute and nearly being given a cast form against my consent, it's time for a familiar problem to rear its head. See, I think I did everything right making my chicken curry, but I realize anyone who gets something wrong says that exact line. So let me just list out some potential oopsies I might have made that resulted in my curry being dog water. I cooked the onions for like 10 minutes, and maybe that might have been too long, because like all the aromatics might have got fried away or something and changed the taste. I don't know. Or maybe I just didn't add enough curry powder or salt or pepper or other stuff to the chicken before I marinated it. I'm not sure. It probably would have helped if I had like taken a picture of the finished product, but this was months ago and I'm not too keen on trying and failing again and wasting another $12 on chicken thighs. So if you have any ideas why my curry was doo-doo feces, please tell me in the comments. Thanks. And while you're busy calling me a terrible cook down there, let me lay out the specifics of our next gym battle. Wallace has taken over the Fortree gym and wields 4 fishies, meaning newcomers Torikatsu and Maryland will be able to flex their might in this upcoming battle. Fried Rice will also be tagging along, providing a key ground immunity against Whiscash. We still need someone to actually hit Whiscash super effectively though, and my only available grass type is that Oddish I caught way back on Route 117. Good thing a Leaf Stone can be obtained on Route 119, allowing Stolichnea to evolve all the way into Vileplume to round out our Wallace extermination squad. Yes, that means Nuggets will be watching from the sidelines for the first time this run, but his influence is so strong now that his mere existence will spur our team to victory. Wallace, dude, if you're gonna be the new gym leader here, at least spell your city's name correctly. Marilyn the Manectric leads the charge, literally by blowing up Love Disc with Spark. That invites in Whiscash, and knowing it's itching to unleash an earthquake, I switch to the flying type Fried Rice to ignore the attack. The only other attack Whiscash could click here would be Water Pulse, meaning Stolichnea the Vileplume can hit the field unscathed. Never mind. Stolichnea our only real answer to this Whiscash though, so he's gonna have to stay out and do what all real men do. Ignore any and all warning signs of their health. Unfortunately, that just results in our held Citrus Berry getting triggered earlier than I'd like. But Stolichnea eventually locks in and connects with Bullet Seed, needing the max 5 hits to one-shot Whiscash. He ends up getting 4 hits, as another Whiscash Earthquake knocks Stoly back to half health. Wallace burns a Hyper Potion, but Stolichnea finally snaps out of confusion to join Whiscash at full HP once again by using Moonlight. Another Bullet Seed Barrage results in another 4 hits and another failed KO, but Whiscash's limited bag of tricks have worn dry. Stoly can fire off one more Bullet Seed to finally down the Mudfish, then sprinkle some Sleep Powder onto Seaking to give Torikatsu an easy entry into battle. Our Magneton's shockingly powerful Spark almost nabs the one-shot, as Seaking slumbers on. Wallace uses his last Hyper Potion, but that just delays Torikatsu's rightful KO by a couple of turns. All that remains is the marvelous and menacing Milotic, but the fish spends its turn setting up Rain, allowing Torikatsu to paralyze it for free and flip the speed war in our favor. Spark hits Milotic hard, but a Rain boosted Water Pulse damn near turns Torikatsu into a memory. Time to send out this fight's actual cleanup specialist, Fried Rice, who resists all of Milotic's damaging moves and has enough HP to weather a few turns of Toxic. Or the Holy Will of Nuggets could cause Milotic to whiff Toxic, all but opening the door for our inevitable Dragon Rage fueled victory. Thank you for the 6th gym badge and TM Water Pulse, Wallace. Please get your head checked because you're speaking as if you were Winona. The good word of Lord Chicken Nuggies must continue to be spread across Hoenn, taking us past Mount Pyre, past some more irrelevant encounters, and to Lily Cove City, where the final rival battle of the run awaits. I haven't put much emphasis on May since she's still a pushover in Sapphire Reverse, and because my curry dilemma was honestly way more important. It is worth noting that her Shroomish and Numel were changed to their final evolutions for this particular fight. not our starter though, we can't have May appearing that competent now, can we? On a similar note, I've been brushing over the Team Aqua saga since it's also identical to Vanilla Sapphire, down to the enemy teams. That's why Nuggets can effortlessly preach the gospel using his feet, planting them directly into the faces of Matt's entire team. Our Lord and Savior has also finally achieved his strongest and holiest form, which is apparently a towering murder chicken. Archie escapes into the deep sea, but I don't really care, instead barging into his room, taking a Master Ball and a free electrode for my troubles, before finally arriving at Moss Deep City. Though the entire Hoenn League has been flipped, the odd number of trainers involved means the twins have stayed put in their hometown, with one notable change however. Tate and Liza have been given their Emerald team, which our current roster friggin' sucks against. Most of our mainstays match up poorly against psychic types, and our water types meant to drown Solrock, Lunatone, and Claydol have their own nasty drawbacks. As for our current available psychic checks, Bayonet is too slow and frail to make much use of its strong Shadow Ball, and the lack of a physical special split really hinders Absol, just as greatly as its surprisingly low speed. But remember when I said that French the Cacnea would come in handy later? That moment has finally arrived as she evolves into the Grass Dark typed Cacturn, a near perfect counter to Tate and Liza's entire team, except for Solrock's Flamethrower, but we can work around that. We do need some more outside help however, aka I gotta backtrack to Petalburg City and fish up a core fish that I dubbed Surf and Turf. Editor's note, I thought Surf and Turf referred to any sort of combination between seafood and animal protein like chicken, but apparently it only applies to seafood and red meat combos. Again, culinary prodigy at work here. Surf and technically not Turf evolves into Crawdaunt, rounding out our fearsome foursome tasked with beating up those two kids. The enemy Xatu begins the fight with Calm Mind, while Claydol sets up a light screen to weaken incoming special attacks. Surf and Turf then taunts Xatu while French plants some Leech Seeds upon Claydol. Xatu's moveset consists of 3 status moves and Psychic, making it a sitting duck against our 2 dark types while under the effects of taunt. Thus, we can focus all of our attention upon Claydol, who does dish out a strong Earthquake but gets promptly packed up by back-to-back dark hits. Huge shoutouts to Sydney for gifting us the Crunch TM earlier, because Surf and Turf otherwise would have had to settle for an unbuffed knockoff as his dark type attack of choice. Unfortunately, Xatu's already broken free of taunt, setting up a sunny day that surely would have made Solrock's Flamethrower a one-hit KO against our Cactus had I not already swapped in Fried Rice. Meanwhile, Surf and Turf reapplies the taunt to Xatu. Our Crustacean then gets up a Protect, blocking Xatu's Psychic and Solrock's Solar Beam the following turn. Huge shoutouts to the Lily Cove department store for carrying Protect TMs. Oh, and Fried Rice landed a pretty good Hydro Pump on Solrock. Not willing to try a double Protect however, I swap out Surf and Turf for Gelatin the Tentacruel, who's been a sleeper MVP off camera for the run so far, and is finally getting her chance to shine in a real battle. Fried Rice meanwhile throws up a Protect of its own and somehow manages to block 2 attacks as well. Nuggets definitely had something to do with this, I can feel it. Gelatin and Fried Rice can unleash back-to-back torrents of water that drown Solrock 10 feet under, and although Xatu lands a Confuse Ray on Gelatin, it matters little, because only Xatu and Lunatone remain, and both of them only have Psychic type damaging moves, meaning our Dark type duo can hop back into action, all but sealing this fight in our favor. Or so it seems, because while French and Surf and Turf are immune to Psychic type damaging moves, they are not immune to Psychic type status moves such as Hypnosis, and since our Dark type duo is slow as dirt, Xatu and Lunatone can put them into a little something I like to call the Moss Deep Torture Chamber. Lunatone goes laser mode, landing Hypnosis after Hypnosis, while Xatu sprinkles in Confuse Rays to make hitting our foes harder than waking up for work on a Monday. Combine that with Lunatone's light screens to weaken our Dark and Grass attacks, and both foes calming their minds like Buddhas, and you have the most aggravating closeout to a battle I've ever experienced. It wasn't difficult or even particularly perilous since our foes have no way to deal direct damage, but it was still infuriating to watch Surf and Turf and French wake up from sleep, hit themselves in the face, land the weakest attack ever, then get put back to sleep to repeat the process over and over again. In between all of this, French did manage to snap out of her stupor long enough to sprinkle Lunatone with some Leech Seeds, giving us some sort of hope to escape the Moss Deep Torture Chamber, but then I remember that the twins still had 2 potions on hand and my half-conscious, illness-infected brain fully shut off. After countless turns spent and brain cells lost, Lunatone eventually was brought low enough by the Leech Seed damage for French to finish it off, and Xatu fell soon after, earning us our 7th gym badge and the TM for calm mind, which is like Tate and Liza handing me one of the torture weapons as a keepsake. I never want to step foot near the moss-deep torture chamber ever again. Get me out of here. Let us discuss the new champion real quick. I had my doubts earlier, but I've come around on Roxanne. After all, she's so dedicated to improving the PR of rock types that she even slides across the floor like a stone. Roxanne also bestows us HM Dive, letting us reach the C4 cavern and put Archie into a headlock. This fight wasn't all that interesting, though Marilyn hit herself twice in the face due to confusion and missed out on a chance to sweep. Everyone please point and laugh at Maryland. Archie unknowingly ushers in an apocalyptic downpour that requires a 10-year-old child's intervention. That involves going to Sutopolis City and being guided by two sentient statues to the Cave of Origin, where the monstrously powerful god of the seas awaits, Kyogre. Unfortunately, I already used my Master Ball on a much better Pokemon earlier in the cave, so we don't have any more room for the big fella. Sorry, Kyogre. With world peace secured, we can turn our attention to the 8th and final gym leader, Winona. Fortunately, we got a strong roster of Pokemon suited to handle flying types, including Fried Rice, Gelatin, Torikatsu, Maryland, and Ball. No, not you, I mean the actual Ball Pokemon we have. Maryland leads off our final gym battle, eager to make up for her blunders in the Archie fight. She redeems herself admirably by rocking Skarmory's socks off with a single Thunderbolt. Huge shoutouts to the abandoned ship where the Thunderbolt TM was located. In case you're wondering, yes, the Thunderbolt TM's location was swapped with the Ice Beam TM, which is now given by Galatia for completing the new Mauville side quest. Anyway, Winona's terrifying Altaria takes the field and immediately starts dancing, but Maryland has Roar to scare it off, pull in the unsuspecting Pelipper, and fry it to a crisp. Altaria returns and starts dancing again, but gets roared out yet again, this time for Tropius. Switching to Gelatin on Tropius' Giga Drain sounds like a bad idea, but then you remember that Gelatin is bulky as hell and that Tropius is a Tropius, and all peril goes out the window. That aforementioned Ice Beam TM actually went to Gelatin, who barely misses a KO but freezes Tropius solid. That prompts Winona to use a Hyper Potion, but Gelatin is unfazed, landing a critical hit that one-taps Tropius. We all know who to thank for that one. Job's not finished yet, however, because we still need to handle Altaria. It survives Ice Beam, gets off a Dragon Dance, then chomps down on its Citrus Berry to undo some of the damage. Now Altaria has a +1 Earthquake on deck that could potentially finish off Gelatin, but you gotta remember, my ass was sick when recording this. I didn't really care about the chance of death, I just wanted to get the fight over with and move on and get my sense of taste back. So I didn't even hesitate to click Ice Beam again, and my impatience was rewarded as Gelatin finished off the fluffy bird. All that's left is Swellow, who is powerless to stop Maryland's Thunderbolt from claiming our final gym badge and a crazy good TM in Drill Peck. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald have the worst iteration of Victory Road in the series. Alola's was all hype music and aura, but at least it wasn't painful to navigate, and while Johto's was MT, you could enter a lot of holes. Meanwhile in Hoenn, you gotta use the Flash HM, which is like minus 1000 points right there. The Aura's iteration of Victory Road kinda sucked too, but Wally's sheer aura made up for it. So as I was editing this, I suddenly had a thought like, wait, didn't Paldea have a Victory Road? And it turns out Paldea does have a Victory Road technically, but it's just the title of the storyline where you get all the badges. They were really like, no bro, Victory Road is totally in this game, you just gotta imagine it in your head. Speaking of Wally, he doesn't know what's about to hit him. After Gelatin experiences deja vu against Wally's Altaria, French the Cacturn takes the field and proceeds to dog walk Wally and his Gardevoir. This thing has no way to hit French, allowing her to get up 3 layers of spikes for free while slowly sapping Gardevoir's HP with Leech Seed. Those spikes proved helpful in what would end up being a bloodbath in our favor. That means all we have left to do now is to take on the new Reverse Hoenn League. Let's take a gander at who will be stepping up to the plate for this final gauntlet. I was gonna write a parody of an actual religious excerpt here for Nuggets' blurb, but after careful consideration of my reputation, I decided against it. Plus, we all know what Nuggets is capable of by now. Just having him around is a good luck charm itself. Believe it or not, Sandwich the Swallow is actually worse in Sapphire Reverse than in the vanilla games, because the Facade TM isn't available. It was replaced with Crunch. One bird's loss is another crab's treasure, as they say, but Sandwich remains a strong option regardless, thanks to Guts and a different boon, Drill Peck, lured via Winona's TM. Fried Rice is a Gyarados. That much should tell you how useful he's been. We'll be following a different level cap for each Elite Four member, however, meaning Fried Rice is gonna have to wait a bit to get Dragon Dance and unlock his true potential of spamming Earthquake and Return. Yeah, early gen movesets sucked. Gelatin the Tentacruel has really put in the work recently, playing pivotal roles against the twins, Winona, and Wally. Wait, hold on, I'm getting a message. Apparently something happened while preparations were being made for the Elite Four. Bring up the footage! Sir, A second shiny has hit the Sapphire Reverse lock. I can only attribute this to the frankly unfathomable fortune of Nuggets, because seriously, how else can you explain this? I don't even like shiny Pokemon all that much, they just keep showing up though. More notably, however, Gelatin has a minus special attack nature, while our new shinier Jellyfish does not. So as much as it pains me to do it, I ultimately benched Gelatin in favor of Gela2. French the Cacturne has been a pleasant surprise this run, providing Leech Seed shenanigans and a much more valuable Dark typing than I expected. French does struggle against most of this Elite Four, but still made the final cut as she crucially checks half of Roxanne's team, and is our best answer against the true menace of the Elite Four. More on that later. And for our final team member, we have the one, the only, the iconic... Who? Hey, remember that Numel I caught on Route 112 like a while back? Yeah, Lava here is our only available ground type on hand. And with our team matching up shockingly bad against electric types, having a ground type is damn near mandatory for the Wattson battle. I expect Lava the camera up tier to carry that fight and provide little else before or after. And that's the team of 6 I'll be rolling with. A few mainstays have been left off of the final roster, but they'll just have to settle for worshipping His Holiness from the sidelines. First up in the Elite Four, my dad! Norman leads off with Linoon, whose belly drum goes to waste as Lord Nuggets one-shots it before it can actually attack. That brings in Girafarig, whose psychic is ineffective against French as she swaps it. Girafarig starts spamming Stomp, which does an alarming amount of damage and could potentially derail the entire battle if French were to flinch. But remember, the first rule of Nuggetism, he who could flinch shall not. French fires off a feint attack, barely missing the kill and prompting Norman to pop a full restore that gets undone by another feint attack. Girafarig stomps down again, but French once again gets blessed before finally toppling the giraffe. Next up is X-Cloud, which means it's time for Nuggets to return, shrug off Ice Beam, and bury X-Cloud with Brick Break. Dodrio barges in next, but Fried Rice can enter the fray and wage a war of attrition with the bird, trading Drill Pecks with returns until eventually Dodrio falls. That just leaves Norman's ace slacking. Now, switching Nuggets directly into slacking here was a frankly reckless move by me, especially if our foe had clicked Hyper Beam, but slacking thankfully just used Shadow Ball instead and spared me from having to play the Sickness Sympathy card. Armed with Protect, Nuggets can play around Slacking's Truant ability and eventually take down the Gorilla to net our first win of the Elite Four. Norman responds by having a stroke. Next up is the Fire-type user Flannery. It is pretty amusing to imagine her somehow failing upward into an Elite Four position, but it tracks. After all, our shiny Gela2 made sure Flannery knew she was totally outmatched. After winning the Weather War because, I don't know, Ninetales got bored I guess, Gela2 proceeded to wash away Flannery's entire team, proving her place on this squad with a sweep of the second Elite Four member. On to the electric specialist Wattson. It's finally Lava the Camera Up's turn to spin, and he begins by getting charged by Raichu, but still scoring the Earthquake one-hit KO because he's built different. Unfortunately, against Manectric, he's not so lucky, missing the kill by a considerable amount. Wattson pops a full restore, but Lava persists, spamming more Earthquakes and taking further hits until Manectric finally gets neutered. And in comes the true demon of this entire Elite Four, Wattson's Lantern. Yeah, this usually unassuming angular fish packs a strong, super effective move against every member of our team. Crucially, that includes Fried Rice and Lava, our two Earthquake users who also suffer 4 times weaknesses against Lantern. That means we'll need a combined group effort to neutralize this threat. French tags in on Lantern Surf and plants Leech Seeds. This will allow us to continuously swap between party members to nullify or at least minimize damage taken. This is contingent on French surviving an Ice Beam first, but Lantern just uses Rain Dance instead, letting French lay the Leech Seeds with ease. Now safely out of KO range thanks to that bit of healing, French can stay in on Ice Beam and deal a big chunk of damage right back with Needle Arm before tapping out for Fried Rice on another Ice Beam. I fully expected Wattson to pop a full restore after Leech Seed brought Lantern low, but I guess he's just pulling a double lift and saving it for later because he just lets Fried Rice finish off Lantern with an EQ. That opens the door for Lava to waltz back in on an ineffective Thunder just as the rain subsides, then proceed to mop up Electrode and Magneton to claim victory. The final Elite Four member is Brawly, meaning Sandwich can finally spread his wings. Drill Peck one-shots Medicham and Heracross, and when presented with a 50-50 chance to do the same to Machamp, Sandwich says a prayer to Lord Nuggets before indeed netting another one-hit KO. Sandwich is an unstoppable freight train right now, and nothing can halt his momentum. except for a low damage roll, and with his health depleted from his burn, Sandwich gets buried by Hariyama's Rock Slide. Brawly pops a second full restore, but Gelatoo's vengeful onslaught cannot be stopped. Surf after Surf smothers Hariyama, who can only muster one more Rock Slide before going down. Only Breloom remains, and although it lands Spore, it puts Fried Rice to sleep on the switch in, and Fried Rice was never meant to close out this battle. With a heavy heart, Nuggets takes the field, dishes out one last Blaze Kick, and secures victory over the reversed Hoenn Elite Four in honor of Sandwich, who wasn't a martyr, but a true friend. The last obstacle standing before us is the Sapphire Reverse League champion. Sorry Roxanne, you may have ascended to the title of strongest trainer in Hoenn, but someone far greater has arrived to claim your spot at Hoenn's apex. Say it with me now, all hail Nuggets! French the Cacturn has been taught Giga Drain via TM, and her Miracle Seed has been swapped out with a Cherry Berry. You'll see why after she lands this big Needle Arm, because Nose Pass goes for Thunder Wave, only for the Paralysis to be instantly cured by our Berry. As Roxanne pops a full restore, French lands another strong Needle Arm, then a third the following turn to finally knock out Nose Pass. She then topples Golem in a single blow, but French's mounting momentum comes to a screeching halt the moment Armaldo hits the field. I switch to Fried Rice, who laughs in the face of Armaldo's Brick Break, then takes it into the yellow with Surf. Fried Rice's held Lax Incense comes in handy for once, causing Armaldo to whiff Ancient Power. Y'all already know who to attribute this to. Fried Rice easily knocks out Armaldo, dragging in Roxanne's Credilli, the actual biggest threat of this fight. No, really. That's because even though Nuggets switches in, ready to boot this thing into the stratosphere, he gets hit by Confuse Ray. Thus, I switch again, this time to Gelatoo on an Ancient Power. Gelatoo's job here is to just chip down Credilli so Nuggets can come back in and clean up, a task Gelatoo performs splendidly as her Surf does barely any damage. Neither does her Ice Beam, and though it gets a freeze, Credilli immediately breaks free and continues its Ancient Power assault. Alright, that's good enough. Nuggets, come back out here and mop up this mess.
How dare you bring harm to the almighty Nuggets? Your transgressions have earned you the only rightful fate you deserve, death.
In comes Aggron, who's actually Roxanne's ace. This is the perfect time for me to bring up Steven Stone Emporium's Aggron from the base game for comparison, which speaks for itself. Damn Steven, Roxanne really stole your entire flow, huh? She's got a better Aggron than yours, your own father cares more about her than you, hell, Roxanne's even better at being a stone than you are. But Roxanne's Aggron is just another Brick Break victim, and Roxanne's final Pokemon is Dead Meat as well. Lord Nuggets gracefully bows out, delegating the final task to French the Cacturn. After shrugging off a Surf and an Ancient Power, French saps all of Relicanth's HP with a single Giga Drain, not only winning us the battle against Roxanne, but earning us the title of Reverse Hoenn League Champions. We now have the authority to spread Nuggetsism across all of Hoenn. With the help of these kind individuals, the good word of the good bird will soon be at the forefront of every mind in Hoenn. Huge shoutouts to Oak Creations as well for creating this enjoyable ROM hack. He's making a reverse Johto League version of Heart Gold as well. Check it out on his channel. Finally, shout out to this one guy from my Uma Musume clan Discord who asked for a shout out in my next video. By the way, add me on Uma. I have a mediocre 9 stamina Taishin and MLB Passive Power available. Now then, I've got most of my taste back at this point, so it's about time I fully indoctrinated myself into Nuggetsism and pledged my fealty the only proper way I could. I got my taste back just for this.